إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا ضال فصلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعص الله ورسوله فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. If you suddenly had to leave your home, what would you take with you? Hold on to that question as we look first at a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ has said, اشتكت النار إلى ربها فقالت ربي أو يا ربي أكل بعضي بعضا فجعل لها نفسين نفسا في الصيف ونفسا في الشتاء. The fire of hell complained to Allah, complained to its Lord and said, "Oh my Lord, some parts of me are burning up other parts, consuming other parts." And so Allah allows the hellfire to take two breaths, a breath in the summer and a breath in the winter. And the hadith goes on that the breath in the summer is the extreme heat of the summer. This is when the hellfire is breathing out. And the breath in the winter is when it is breathing in. This is the extreme cold of the winter. This is the hadith, the sound hadith, hadith sahih from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Regardless whether it is an actual complaint and an actual breathing in some way that we cannot understand, or whether it is a metaphor. Regardless of that, the hadith is reminding us that this world is a place where everything is temporary. It is a world of contrasts. The states of this dunya, the states of this world come and go. There is heat and there is cold. There is ease and there is difficulty. There is wealth and there is poverty. And as we are experiencing extreme cold here, in the west of this country, this continent, there are still the remnants of the huge wildfires. Extreme cold here and extreme heat there. And this brings us back to the question, if you suddenly had to leave your home with very little notice, what would you take with you? This was the question which was faced by many people in the line of those wildfires in California. The wildfires in California led to the evacuation of about 200,000 people. They suddenly had to leave their homes, and of course they could not take everything. So what would you take with you if you were in that situation? And before we try to answer that, let us not forget, elsewhere in the world, today and in the past, there are and there have been people who have had to leave their homes for other reasons, besides natural disasters. Other reasons involving the injustice, the oppression, the tyranny of other human beings. Let us not forget them in our dua, in our prayers. So what would you take with you if you suddenly had to leave home? What did some of these people take with them? Many of these were wealthy neighborhoods, very rich people, and as they were evacuating, as you may have seen if you read the news reports or you watched the news about this, some of them were seen carrying out expensive works of art, paintings, which makes sense. If you have paid a lot of money for something, you don't want to lose that money. You want to try and take it with you. So some things you might want to take with you because of their financial value, if you suddenly have to leave your home. But if you think about it, there are probably other things. There is another category of things, second category of things you will want to take with you if you suddenly have to leave home and you might never be able to come back and you might lose your home. What else would you want to save? Probably you will think of some things which have personal value, not that much financial value. It might be a piece of paper, which in financial terms is worth a few cents, but to you it is worth almost the world, because it is something written to you, a letter written to you by your father, your mother, your grandmother. Something of sentimental value, maybe a small gift from someone that you value. The paper and the ink with which it was written or the cost of the gift is not that much, but to you it means so much. You will want to take it with you. There is actually also a third category. A third category of something which actually is more valuable than both of these two categories. More valuable than the things of financial value and more valuable than the things of sentimental value. And actually this is the thing which you do not have to worry about trying to save and carry with you if your house is about to burn. This is the most precious thing you own, and it is inside you. It is in your heart. What is it? Of course it is your iman. You don't have to worry about it in case of a fire, but we do need to take some means to protect it, some precautions. We do need to do something to keep it safe. What do we need to do? How can we protect this iman? If we come back to the case of the California fires, we can find some lessons there. One of the buildings which was in the path of the fires was a famous museum, an art museum. And if you go, some of you may have read it already, if not, if you want to read it, you can go and find news article, news reports about this, where they were talking to some of the people in charge of this museum. And this museum contains valuable works of art. Maybe some of them cannot be replaced if they are lost. And yet these people were telling the reporters that we have no plans to move anything out of this museum. Even though the museum is potentially in the path of the fires, we have no plans to move anything. Why? Because they said everything is already in the safest place it could be. When the museum was built, it was built with potential disasters in mind. They took precautions, so everything is already safe. And we need to do the same thing for our iman. As Allah says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. O you who have believed, fear Allah, or maybe more accurately, be conscious of Allah. Protect yourself from Allah's displeasure. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. And let every soul look to what it has prepared for tomorrow. The big tomorrow, of course, is the Day of Judgment. We have to be prepared for the Day of Judgment. May Allah save us and our families. But if you think about it, every tomorrow of this world is impacting that big tomorrow. The decisions we make for our future in this world are going to impact our hereafter. And so we need to make plans, preparations for the tomorrows of this world. And yes, some of it is worldly. Financial planning, whatever it is, trying to make sure that you leave something for your children. But there is also the spiritual planning. How can we make sure or do what is in our power to protect our iman, to keep it safe tomorrow, and next week, and next month, and next year, and however long Allah keeps us alive? We need to be thinking about these things. Because the tests and the dangers to our iman are going to come. They are already all around us. The temptations, the fitan, the tribulations, the tests. They might be big tests, they might be small tests. They might be long-term, they might be short-term. They might be personal, they might be on the level of the community. But the tests are definitely going to come. And even if things seem to be going well, that itself might be another type of test. And how we respond to these tests, all of the different tests of life, is a function of our iman, of the state of our iman. And the stronger our iman is, the more likely we are to be able to handle these tests and to keep our iman safe, to come out of these tests with our iman still intact and inshallah stronger. Yes, sometimes if you are in a situation where your iman is in big danger and there is no way to protect it without leaving, then you have to leave. But often you are not able to leave, or it is not that severe. You need to stay and deal with it. And there is a way to keep your iman safe. What can we do? Let's come back to the museum. How did they plan ahead for tomorrow? The first thing, they tell us that they chose the location with care. They built this museum on top of a hill. And of course, if there is a fire burning in the area, it is much less likely to burn all the way up the hill. The same way, we need to isolate ourselves from the evil around us. Yes, there is evil all around us in the world, probably almost everywhere in the world. Regardless where you go, there's going to be some evil, some sin around you, some temptations. But at least you need to isolate yourself to the extent you can. Don't deliberately go to a place where you're going to be exposed to temptation. Don't go to such a place without need. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself in a good environment, around good people. Isolate yourself from the evil. So they isolated the museum on a hilltop, and then they built it. They built it on the hilltop, and we need to build our iman. In the famous hadith, which we all know, Islam is described as having 5 pillars. If these pillars are not there, your building cannot be standing. And the most important pillar after Iman is, of course, Salah. What is the state of your Salah? This will give you a pretty good idea. What is the state of your Iman? What is the state of your heart? For example, if you need to go out for something, whether it is something regular like work, something occasional like going out for groceries, or even something unexpected, how much do you think about the prayer times? Will I be back home in time to pray? If not, can I pray quickly? Is it already time? Pray quickly before I leave. If not, where can I find a place to pray while I'm out? This is the way the believer thinks. Let's come back to the museum. Point number 2. So point number 1, they chose the site isolated on a hilltop, and then they built it there. Point number 2, the air filtration system in this museum, they said actually, I guess we could say, is flexible. It can be reversed. In case of a fire, they can reverse the air system to push air out of the building. So what is going to happen now? All of the smoke and the soot and things which could damage the paintings inside is not going to get into the building. And similarly, we need to be flexible. We need to be able to adapt to whatever is happening around us. Don't be too set in your ways. As we said, when it is time to pray, it might not be the normal place where you like to pray, where you are most comfortable praying, but you need to find a place to pray. If it is going to mean missing the proper time of the prayer, you don't have a choice. You have to find some way to pray. You have to be flexible. Point number 3. They tell us that the museum has a 1 million gallon reserve water tank. 1 million gallons. They are prepared. They stored up this water from beforehand. If somehow the fire does get to the building, they have all of this water to help put it out. And similarly, we need to prepare while times are still good. Prepare our Iman while our lives are easy, so when the difficulties come, we can deal with them. As the Prophet ﷺ has said, تَعَرَّفْ إِلَى اللَّهِ فِي الرَّخَاءِ يَعْرِفْكَ فِي الشِّدَّةِ. The basic meaning is that make your relationship strong with Allah when things are easy, so that when things are difficult, you are more likely to get a quick response from Allah. Yes, Allah might respond to your dua even if you are a sinner, but it is much more likely that Allah will respond, or that Allah will respond sooner, or that Allah will respond in the way you want when you are in difficulty, if you have had already a constant, steady relationship with Allah even before the difficulty. This is point number 3. And one more point. Point number 4. They tell us that the way they have dealt with the plants and the vegetation and planned it around the building, the museum, is also part of the planning and the preparation for disaster. They say the plants immediately around the building, closest to the building, are specifically chosen to be plants with high water content. What does this mean? Of course, plants with high water content are less likely to burn if there is a fire. And therefore, it is much less likely now that the fire is going to actually get to the building. And then as you move further out, away from the building, yes, there might be other types of plants now, but they always make a point to clear away the dried brush and the dried leaves, the things which would burn very easily if a fire came. Clear these away. What does this mean for us? What do we need to clear away? Of course, it should be obvious. The dried brush and the dried leaves that keep accumulating around us are our sins. We need to keep clearing them away. And how do we do this? If you have committed a major sin, you need to repent. You need to make tawbah. regret what you have done for the sake of Allah, and stop doing it right away, and make a firm intention that you will never commit it again. And if it involved the rights of someone else, then fix things with that person. If you insulted him, apologize to him. If you stole something, return it. This is a way to clear away the big dried branches and dried trees, which might cause you to burn otherwise. But then there are also the leaves and the dried grass. These are the smaller sins. And these you clear away by istighfar, by asking Allah for forgiveness. The Prophet ﷺ, even though Allah told him in the Quran that He has forgiven him, yet the Prophet ﷺ used to seek forgiveness from Allah 70 times daily. According to one narration, 100 times daily, according to another narration. وَإِنِّي لَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ فِي كُلِّ يَوْمٍ 100 مرة وفي رواية 70 مرة. How long does that take? To say Astaghfirullah 100 times, a couple of minutes? Who among us can claim that we don't have 2 minutes every day? If you are not already doing this, start doing it. Get into the habit of doing istighfar. If you can do it 100 times daily, wonderful. If not, if that seems too much, and if you are not already doing it, after every salah, after every fard salah, the Prophet ﷺ would do istighfar 3 times. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. 3 times after each prayer, multiplied by 5 prayers, this is already 15. If you want to get to 100, actually you only have 85 more to go. Regular istighfar. And the other way to clear away the dried leaves is by looking for opportunities for good deeds. So this is a way to protect our iman. I'll quickly run through the 4 points again. Number 1, isolate yourself on the hilltop, away from the sins. And then build your iman there. And the most important pillar of the building is the salah. Number 2, be flexible. And try to adapt yourself to do what is pleasing to Allah in whatever situation you find yourself in. Number 3, build up your relationship with Allah. Build up your reserve. So when you are in difficulty, you have something to draw upon. You're not going to overdraw your balance then. And number 4, keep clearing away the sins, which are basically the dried leaves and the dried brush, which can cause you to burn in case of a fire. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. الحمد لله حمدا يليق بجلال وجهه وعظيم سلطانه. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله وسلم عليه وعلى آله. أما بعد، فيا عباد الله اتقوا الله. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. وإن خير الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل بدعة ضلالة. Take care of your iman, brothers and sisters. Remember, it is the most valuable thing you have. This is your priority in life. And as we said also, be conscious of Allah, and also prepare for tomorrow, and be flexible. In other words, be aware, be conscious of what is going on around you. As Imam al-Ghazali rahmahullah said, the believer sees the signs of Allah in everything around him. The signs of Allah, the attributes of Allah, everything should remind you of Allah and of your deeper purpose in life. This is what we should be aiming for. And when we see something like the wildfires, or read about it, or hear about it, of course, this can be a reminder of many things as we have been discussing, but it is also a reminder of the big fire. If you go and look at some of these news reports, pictures, videos, some people are filming these fires live with their phone, with their video camera. They're very close to it. And they're terrified, they're scared. Let's go, the fire is coming, we have to leave. Some people even died in these fires. Yes, of course, who is not afraid of fire? And if we are afraid of the fire of this dunya, what about the fire of the akhirah? The Prophet ﷺ said, نَارُكُمْ هَذِهِ جُزْءٌ مِّن سَبْعِينَ جُزْءًا مِّن نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ. This fire of yours of this world is 1/70th part of the fire of hell. قالوا يا رسول الله إن كانت لكافية. O Messenger of Allah, it would have been enough, even if it was just as hot as the fire of this world and no hotter. It would have been bad enough. نعم وقد فضلت عليها ب69 جزءا. He said that yes, maybe, but it has been made 69 times hotter. And even before we get to the hadith, go to the Quran, just flip through a translation of the Quran and see how many times the hellfire is mentioned. وَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Be afraid of the fire, or protect yourself from the fire, which has been prepared for who? For the kafirin. You might think the kafirin, the disbelievers. We are believers, we don't need to worry. No, we do need to worry. Kufr has different levels. The word kufr itself has many meanings. One of the meanings of kufr is ingratitude. One of the meanings of kafir is someone who is ungrateful to Allah. Are we truly being grateful to Allah? None of us can claim that we are really being grateful to Allah as He deserves. So be afraid of the fire. Protect yourself from the fire. And like those people who were terrified because they were so close, if you think about it, the fire of hell is close to us. As the Prophet ﷺ told us in another hadith, Suheil al-Bukhari, الجنة أقرب إلى أحدكم من شراك نعله والنار كذلك أو والنار مثل ذلك. The garden of paradise is closer to any of you than the strap on his shoe. And similarly, the fire of hell. If you think about it, the time of death is unknown for every person. If anyone of us were to die right now, may Allah give us long life with good iman, but the moment anyone dies, it is one of those two destinations. It is as if they are waiting behind us. And we will only find out for sure at the moment of death. The garden of paradise and the fire of hell both are very close to you, closer than your shoe, closer than your shoe strap, than your shoelace. And on the day of judgment, they will come even closer. وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ وَبُرِّزَتِ الْجَحِيمُ لِلْغَاوِينَ. As Allah tells us in Surah Al-Shu'ara in the Quran, that the garden of paradise will be brought near for the muttaqeen, the pious, those who protected themselves from Allah's anger. And the hellfire will be exposed for those who went astray. And in the hadith in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, according to some it is the saying of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, but the saying is, يُؤْتَى بِجَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يُؤْتَى بِجَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ 70,000 زمام مع كل زمام 70,000 ملك. Hellfire will be brought on that day. It will be dragged, it will be pulled with 70,000 ropes. And each rope is being pulled by 70,000 angels. يَجُرُّونَهَا, pulling it. Yes, it is not just about fear, it is also about hope. But with many of us, it is easy to hope. You commit a sin and hope Allah will forgive you. What we need very often is to remind ourselves of the fear part, to bring ourselves in check. Be afraid of the fire. Go and look at some of these pictures, these videos of the fires, whether the recent California fires or any others. Remind yourself, think about the fire of Jahannam. And finally, to wrap up, of course, we have the extreme heat of the fires and we have the extreme cold that we have been going through recently, and both are reminders. As we started out with the hadith, both are reminders of the hellfire. Because Jahannam actually is not just fire. There is extreme heat and extreme cold. But this season of the year in which we are in, the winter, don't forget, brothers and sisters, as it is said in a popular saying, sometimes reported as a hadith, it's not entirely clear if it is a hadith, "Ash-shita'u rabi'ul mu'min." The winter is the springtime for the believer. Winter is a wonderful time for the believer because it is a great opportunity to get closer to Allah. The days are short. It is very easy to fast. If you have missed fasts in Ramadan and you have not yet made them up, take advantage of the opportunity now while the days are short and the weather is not hot. So easy to fast. If you have already made up, if you didn't have fasts to make up or you already made them up, and you have not already fasted an optional fast since Ramadan or in the recent past, make the intention to fast at least one day before the days start to get longer again. And the other bounty, hidden treasure, which is available in winter, easily available, is that just as the days are short, the nights are long. And what does the long night mean for the believer? There is more time for tahajjud. If you think about it, how late Fajr comes in nowadays, how difficult is it to wake 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier? Pray even just 2 rak'ah of tahajjud before the time of Fajr comes in. These are the things which, inshallah, if you do them with sincerity now, you will find them on the Day of Judgment. It might be that one fast, those 2 rak'ah, which you prayed secretly in your bedroom with no one else watching you. This might make the difference between your scale going this way or that way, between the fire of hell or the garden of paradise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who benefit from what they say and what they hear. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وآل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم توفنا مسلمين وألحقنا بالصالحين غير خزايا ولا ندامى ولا مفتونين. رب اغفر وارحم وتجاوز عما تعلم إنك أنت الأعز الأكرم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين بالإمامة العادلة والقوة القاهرة والسلطة الظاهرة على الكفرة الباغية. واغفر اللهم لجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.